Hello there everybody, how is it going and how have you been? I am EuclideanSqd, and we're back here in Duel Links. There's been an update to the game. It is now 3.2, I want to say. Don't know if that's right or not, but there's a mandatory update recently that has fixed up the UI in a few places. If you're playing on mobile, you no longer have that weird little half banner, half button that you have to scroll through to look at all the events. It's now just a simple button that brings up a list of all the currently ongoing events. If you're playing on PC, you have that over the right hand side, as you can see right now. But the thing we are going to be focusing on today is the fact that the Tabletop RPG Monster World event has returned. This is the second time it came around, and it plays out very similarly to the first. You play across different levels, and it's very much a dungeon crawler. You move a space at a time. Some spaces have nothing on them. Some spaces have monsters you fight. Some spaces have treasure for you to collect. And it's a really, really fun event, and it's very, very different from a lot of the other events that they do in the game. But interestingly, with this re-release of the event, you can now unlock Tristan Taylor by completing level 20. Which is a bit of an odd way to unlock a character, but admittedly it is not the first time that a character has been unlocked outside of an unlock event. For one, I believe Esperoba unlocked through the Duel Carnival, as opposed to the typical gather your, tokens, like, the GX medals or whatever for the characters that appear at the gate. But also, as you can see in the ongoing event list right now, there's this mission bingo that I don't think I've ever covered. This is an event from a really long time ago, but the reason that it is currently still listed in the ongoing events is that this is how you unlock Mokuba for use in the game. So that's the only reason it's there. It's not that interesting of an event, really. It's each square has a goal. You complete the goal, you fill in the square, and just like a bingo card, once it's all filled, you get Mokuba. Long and short of it. But yeah, so we're going to be going into Monster World right now. We will be completing level 20 and unlocking Tristan, and then checking out what his level up cards are, what skills he can get, and so on. Now, like I mentioned, the event plays out very similarly to what it does previously. You have a stamina meter. You expend your stamina to move to new spaces or to participate in events like battles against the monsters. You do not have to spend stamina moving backwards across spaces you have already explored, so it's very nice. Additionally, the more that you explore and the more monsters you beat, your experience gauge fills up. Every time that maxes out, your max stamina increase and your stamina is fully replenished. So that helps you explore in sort of larger bouts at times, but usually you will have to stop at some point unless you use one of the stamina potion items, which I am currently hoarding just because I'm a hoarder like that. Yeah, let's just go ahead and open up the event flow really quick, just so I can make sure that, yeah. Move along squares, compete in dice battles. That's right, whenever there's a duel involved, you do not use your own pre-built decks. You have to, or your own self-made decks. You have to use one of many pre-built event decks for the event. These range from simply like a spellcaster theme or a dragon theme to Harpy Lady theme or Insector theme, so very interesting, and the later you go on into the event, the more powerful the decks you can find. Every time you finish a floor, you get a reward, and yeah, it's basically just a little dungeon crawler. So, as a quick refresher, the blue treasure boxes will generally give you items for the event, or lesser prizes, like I think you can get things like rare jewels or gold out of them. Gold treasure boxes will generally give you better rewards, like gems and lottery coins. The magic circles are dice battles, which we will undoubtedly see, as well as duel squares and the boss monster square, but this one is new. The little speech bubble is an event square, which just seems to trigger just a sort of random event to add a little bit more character this time around. Usually it's just Yami Bakura playing the role of a DM and trying to spook you or freak you out doesn't really work that well. Sometimes these squares can give you items. I've only had that happen to me once, but it happened to be a large stamina potion, which apparently refills like 50 stamina. So, good find. Don't know how common or rare that is. There have been some new cards added. I will go over those once we finish level floor 20. But as some quick notable changes, first off, a lot of animations have been sped up just so that the event doesn't take quite as long to play. As well, certain mechanics have been slightly tweaked just so that the game doesn't take quite as long. I will try to go over those as I remember them and as they may come up. But the other two most notable things is that even as newer areas are added, if you manage to finish all of the currently available areas, you can still go on to a perpetual floor called Area Infinity, where you can just keep playing the event if you have the spare time. This is actually a good idea, considering another change is now your characters will gain a small amount of experience from participating in a duel in this event. So you can use this to get a little bit more grinding in for some characters. You don't get duel assessment rewards, but you can still also find things like treasure coins or gems or other stuff in the treasure boxes that spawn randomly in Area Infinity as well. So it can be a good way to find a few more goodies than you might otherwise get out of the event. As I mentioned, Tristan Taylor unlocks when you defeat Dark Master Zork on Area 20. Area 35 is not yet available, but when you finish it, you get a copy of this Umbra Image, the Elemental Lord. Completing Area 20 will also unlock a copy of Dark Master Zork. A few more cards, again, I will get into those in just a moment, but let's go ahead and head out onto the floor. We'll talk about all the rewards once we actually have them available. So as we can see, this event space isn't really anything that special, it's just story. Speaking of the basic story for this event is that I think Tristan kind of got suckered into playing this game against Yami Bakura. He lost and Bakura trapped him in a doll, and now you're helping to free Tristan's soul from the toy so that he can be alive again. Page turning plot it is not, but regardless, let's go ahead and show off a dice battle. So these are very, very simplified battles. It's basically you just rolling d10s against the opponent's monsters that are rolling specialized d10s. As you progress through the floors, you will unlock more and more dice to use, so initially you will only be rolling 1d10, but the monsters will generally have like 3, 4, 5 HP at that point anyway. I've played quite a bit, so I've gotten up to 4d10. And right there was actually one of the shortcuts. So basically, if you ever roll doubles in these battles, you get an extra roll. However, as a means of speeding the event up, if you roll doubles, but that roll is already enough to beat the monster, it just ends the duel there and it doesn't waste your time with an extra animation. Now, the reason you want to participate in these dice battles is that you can get event decks through them. Now, not every dice battle is guaranteed to give you an event deck, only some do. But they also will give you more experience than what you typically would spend in stamina to move on to the space. They can also give you large amounts of treasure coins. I think one gave me some gems. I can't remember if that's true or not. But generally, you will want to participate in these whenever you can. You can get event items and so on. I'm actually going to go ahead and take a look at the deck. So the level 3 spellcaster deck, we have Tricky, we have Kaiku, Blizzard Princess. This isn't a bad deck, actually. But I think I'm going to stick with the one that somehow I unlocked this crazy deck while I was playing, or I was just grinding in Area Infinity. This is a very powerful deck that I don't think you last time the event came around, you didn't unlock until fairly late into the boards. But this just randomly showed up as a reward while I was playing in Area Infinity, so... okay. I'm just gonna keep using it. Let's carry on. You can see the boss is over here, but we can't move diagonally, so we have to go the long way around. Got a dice plus 1 item, which, as you might expect, lets me roll an extra die during a dice battle. Now, the different colors of dice up here can roll different things. I believe the sort of pale tan die can only roll, I want to say 0 to 3. The yellow die can roll 0 to 5, the red 0 to 7, and we haven't seen it yet, but there is a black die that some monsters have that can roll the full 0 to 9 that a D10 can. At least I think that's how it works. It's something like that. They're basically not full-fledged D10, even though they look like it in shape. Oh, and one thing to mention about these dice is that they treat the zeros as zeros. So I know in some tabletop games, the 0 on a D10 counts as a 10. This game treats it as a 0, so just don't get too excited when you see a 0 pop up. But if you do roll 2 zeros or 3 zeros, that still counts as a double and you get an extra roll anyway, so it's not all bad news if one shows up. You just have to hope that multiple do. Now here's a monster duel. This should not be that hard, considering I managed to get an endgame deck kind of ridiculously early somehow. Typically the monsters you find out in the level will have less than 4,000 life points, and in fact early on in the event the boss monsters will have less than 4,000 life points. So it really isn't super hard when you're at the early game. And in fact, even in the later game, I don't need to use this deck. These monsters have not given me any trouble at all. I'm just doing it because I want to. Let's go ahead, play you. Oh yeah, I have to use Insector Hopper's effect to equip Earwig. I'm not going over my monster cards, really, just because these are kind of complicated. But basically, the Insectors work by being able to equip themselves with others of the archetype, and they augment their powers in different ways. So for example, Earwig gives a monster 1,000 extra attack points. What I'm going to do next is use Parallel Twister, send Earwig to the graveyard to get rid of the face down. Then Earwig's effect is going to activate which says when it's sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, the monster that was equipped to gains 1,000 attack points. So it's kind of a way of preserving the power boost that Earwig gives if you lose it partway through the turn. And I basically won in one turn because Hopper's now going to attack. And there we go, I didn't even have to use the Cocoon of Vulture Evolution like I might have thought I would. Because even though I just said monsters in the field don't have 4,000 life points, I thought it had 4,000 life points. You need to listen to your own advice, man. Or to your own words. Alright, so that one gave up 50 lottery coins. And we're continuing on. We've got one more dice battle. I'm going to grab this chest. I personally would recommend going through every square if you can, or if you have time to. Specifically because even the empty squares will give you 1 experience point for exploring them. So it's just kind of a way of maximizing your experience. And like I mentioned, when your experience bar maxes out and you level up, your stamina fully replenishes. So if you're only like 3 or 4 away and you're low on stamina, just go ahead and explore the empty spaces. Get that free stamina refill partway through. And this Battle Ox is not scaring me at all. Although that roll is kind of disappointing. It's rolling really low, though. There we go, it's dead. Okay. And as another note, if you're worried at all about the difficulty of the event and how often you may have to use items, I have not used a single one yet. So I've gotten 15 small stamina potions, some of which have come from participating in ranked duels. You get one a day. By one duel in the PvP arena will get you... You can get a maximum of one small stamina potion per day by dueling in the PvP arena once. There we go. I had to figure out how to phrase that sentence correctly. I found a large stamina potion. I've got 6 of these Senri eyes, which just illuminate all the squares so you can see where everything is. And then the dice plus 1 item lets you roll an extra d10 during a dice battle. And all of those that I've gotten, I have not used a single one. You really don't need to. I mean, if you're concerned in a dice battle, you certainly can use a plus 1 if you seem to be rolling very low, but I'm just kind of hoarding everything for the last few floors just to make sure that I can knock them out really fast. But anyway. So here's the big bad of this campaign. This is Dark Master Zork. Probably not the full power Zork that will be at the actual end of the event, but let's see what it's got. It's got 4,000 life points. I'm going second, so I do get to attack first. And okay. So it just dumped a bunch of points onto that zombie. But I can get rid of it. So I will summon Centipede. I will use Centipede to equip it with Earwig. Already more than strong enough, but let's just go ahead and use the Zectcalibur equip spell. Strengthen it even more. Let's see, you hit it. 1100. We will go ahead and use the Cocoon of Vulture Evolution. Tribute Insector Centipede to summon the other Metamorphosed Insect Queen from the deck. And dang it, Zork's gonna live on 100 life points. Wow. Okay. Well, a nearly one-turn kill against the big bad. I will definitely go ahead and use this card's effect. Summon a token to protect it from card effects. I am not going to use the effect again and blow up my field with tokens because there's no need to. And in fact, I'll just go ahead and tribute that token to summon another big bug. Gigamantis gets rid of that card, clearing the way for... Yeah, go ahead. I'm clearing the way for Insect Queen to crush Dark Master Zork. And there we go, floor 20 beaten. Yeah, I'm using a really strong deck that I don't know how I got this early, but the Dragon deck, the Spellcaster deck, this thing didn't seem all that tough at all. I mean, base attack power wise, none of the monsters it showed off had more than 1500. The only reason that one zombie got so scary is because it put 3 equip spells onto it. So it shouldn't be that hard to beat Zork and unlock Tristan, at least. So I roll the die. Yeah, Bakura's DM rolls a natural 1. Zork loses. And Zork has, quote-unquote, escaped so that you can play the last 10 levels of the event. But if all you wanted was Tristan, you get him right here. Interesting. So Tristan participated in the game to try and revive regular Bakura? That's interesting. I kind of glossed over the lore there just because I'm not super interested, really. Also, happy I got a copy of Zork, but I already got 3 from the last time the event came around, so... Anyway, here we go, we unlock Tristan. And I have absolutely no idea what this guy's going to be like. I have no clue what skills he's going to get. I have no clue what starter deck he's going to have. I got no clue what he's going to get by level up. I don't know. This guy's a complete curveball out of nowhere. He doesn't even have a signature card. That's how little he duels in the anime. He has no signature card. Alright. So here's 21. We're not continuing, because I want to take a look at Tristan. Well, first, I'm going to grab Zork. I will show off the new cards in the event really quick, but... well, nah. Let's just go ahead and show the cards now. Keep the suspense. So, is it a reward? Well, here's the rewards for beating every level. At Area 10, you get a copy of Berserk Gorilla, which this card has to attack every turn if it's allowed to, and if it's ever put in face-up defense position, it gets destroyed. Area 15, you get these pretty cool-looking card sleeves. Area 18, you get a copy of an ultra-rare card, Winged Sage Falcos. When this card destroys an opponent's face-up attack position monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can place that monster on top of their deck, so kind of a good way of stalling out your opponent. By just continually putting the same monster on top of their deck so they can't get any new cards. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Berserk Gorilla does have 2,000 attack points, so even though it has to attack, it's pretty strong at attacking. Winged Sage has 1,700 attack and 1,200 defense. Dark Master Zork has 2,700 attack and is an level 8 Fiend Ritual. You can Ritual Summon this card with Contract with the Dark Master. Once per turn, roll a 6-sided die, then destroy all monsters your opponent controls if you roll a 1 or a 2. Destroy one monster your opponent controls if you roll a 3, 4, or 5. Or destroy all monsters you control if you roll a 6. So a 1 in 6 chance of a horrific backfire, but otherwise you're destroying your opponent's monsters for free. So depending on how you view odds and how much the RNG seems to like you, it could be a good card. At 25 we get the Game Mat, and then at 30 we get a new card, Jin Demolisher of Rituals, a 3-star Fiend with 1,500 attack and 600 defense. When you ritual summon a monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard as one of the monsters required for the ritual summon. If a player ritual summons using this card, that ritual summon monster cannot be targeted by the card effects of the other player. So, going off the wording, I think that's a permanent effect. So, for example, if you use Jin in the ritual summoning of, say, Dark Master Zork, your opponent can't target Zork with any of their card effects. Now, just to be clear, that does not mean Zork is immune to their card effects, just that it can't be targeted by them. So, for example, your opponent cannot use enemy controller on Zork, because that targets, but if Zork tries to attack, and they activate Wall of Disruption, that will affect Zork, because Wall of Disruption does not target him. But anyway, enough yammering about the rules. Let's look at the rest of the new cards. So, I actually got an Umbra Image through the lottery, but this is the new card, Umbra Image, the Elemental Lord, an 8-star Fiend with 2,800 attack and 2,200 defense. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by having exactly 5 dark monsters in your graveyard. No more, no less. If this card is special summoned, however, you can add one monster with 1,500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Umbra Image, the Elemental Lord, once per turn. So you can't special summon 2 and search for 2 1,500 or less attack point monsters. You can only do it once. And as a downside, if this face-up card ever leaves the field, you have to skip the battle phase of your next turn. So just be mindful of that drawback effect if you are using Umbra Image, because something like if it's destroyed by a treacherous trap hole, if it's banished in some way, that forces you to skip your next battle phase, so you do have to kind of play around that a little bit. There's Jin, just like I mentioned before. Other return, much like previous lotteries, previous cards for the lotteries are still here. So, for example, Skilled White Magician is not new, but you can get it if you have not. If you did not get it the last time a lottery event came around. It's not a bad spellcaster, 1700 attack and 1900 defense. Every time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on it, max 3. You contribute this card with 3 spell counters on it to special summon the Buster Blader from your hand, deck, or graveyard. There's other good cards in here like Earthbound Spirit, a monster with 2000 defense. Pretty good. But in terms of other new rare, new cards, period, there is Royal Keeper, a 4-star zombie with 1600 attack and 1700 defense. Once per turn, you can flip this card into face-down defense position. When this card is flipped face up, it gains 300 attack and defense until the end of the turn. Note, however, that if it is flipped face up through an attack, the effect resolves after damage calculation. So in other words, what I think this is saying, at least, is if you attack Royal Keeper and it flips face up, it won't go to 2000 defense until after the battle has finished playing out. So if it gets attacked by something with 1800, it will die before it actually gets the stat buff. Again, I think. And then the only other new card is this thing, Ghoul with an Appetite. It's a 1600 attack point, 4-star, no effect zombie. Kinda good, I guess. I don't know. I don't generally play with zombie cards, so this thing could be awful. I have no idea. Then, like I mentioned, other returning cards. There's the Ritual Spell for Zork. You can get Berserk Gorillas through the lottery. There's all kinds of interesting stuff in here. Much like other previous events as well, you do get a free pull of 10 from the lottery every day. So make sure you cash those in every day that the event is going on, just so you can get as much as you can. But otherwise, you can spend 30 coins to draw 1 prize, or up to 300 coins to draw 10 prizes at once. If you don't have 300, it just goes up to the nearest multiple of 30. So, for example, if you only had 100 coins, you could spend 90 and draw 3. I'm not going to be doing that, though. I already spent enough time in the event. Let's see here. So we unlock Tristan Taylor, and he has the typical get gems and stuff when you level him up. So without further ado, let's take a look at this very odd new addition to the cast, or to the roster. Let's go back to regular Yu-Gi-Oh! And where is he? There he is. Way at the back of the list. So, let's start off by looking at his starter deck. So, to start with, Tristan's deck contains, if it will open, and let me just double check. Okay, yes, I am still recording. I am paranoid after that one time that I accidentally hit the stop button in the middle of a recording and I didn't realize it. Interesting cards, but really nothing that strong. Block attack is really the most interesting thing in here, but you can get this on a lot of different means. So he doesn't even have a signature monster to try and build a deck around. I mean, I knew he didn't, but I figured, I don't know, he'd at least have like a Swamp Battle Guard and a Lava Battle Guard, considering that's what he used when he was an actually duelable duelist in this game. Duelable duelist, great words there. Let's see, at level 3 he gets you get an Acrobat Monkey, which is not that bad of a card. It's a 3-star machine with 1000 attack and 1800 defense. Sorry, the screen suddenly looks a lot sharper, like cleaner for some reason. Okay. Skilled Deckmaster Effect Cyber Commander, which, if we look at this, Can be used if you control a cyber commander. The attack and defense of warrior type and machine type monsters you control increase by 300. Okay, that's an interesting effect. The only downside is that this thing has absolutely atrocious stats. Though it is a very low-level normal monster, I know there is support for those sorts of things in this game, so maybe something could be built. And to be fair, that doesn't list an ending for the boost. So it doesn't say increase by 300 until the end of the turn. So I guess if you have, say, a bigger, scarier warrior or machine, you could just play a cyber commander and start pumping 300 attack into it every turn. You would need to protect the cyber commander, of course, but interesting. Interesting. Level 7, he gets Ogre of the Black Shadow, a 1400 monster. Another vanilla. Gems and deck slots. We get another Acrobat Monkey at level 10. We get another Ogre at level 11. 13, he gets Fields of the Warriors, which is a pretty good skill. This is the one that begins the duel with the field spell Sogen activated. Previously, only Joey could obtain this skill. And this is a good field spell. It boosts the power of all Beast Warrior and Warrior type monsters. At 14, we get Free to the Brave Wanderer. A 4-star light warrior, 1700 attack, 1200 defense. Once per turn, you can banish 2 light monsters from your graveyard to target one face-up monster on the field with higher attack than this face-up card. Destroy that target. Okay. We get another Acrobat Monkey at level 16. Another Freed at level 18. At 20, we get I'm Not Done Yet, which says, this is unique to Tristan. Can be used from turn 5 and onward. Your life points become 2,000. Skill can only be used once per duel. That's a good effect, or that's a good skill. Because you could be down to like 500 life points, just use this skill and boom, suddenly you're back at 2,000. That's a pretty good skill, actually. Okay. Starting to get impressed with Tristan the more he levels up. Got another Ogre at 21. Third Freed at 23. 25, we get Tardy Orc. 4-star Fiend, 2200 attack. This card cannot attack the turn it is normal summoned. Okay. I guess the joke is that it's tardy to the battle or something. Absolute Crusader. 4-star warrior, 1800 attack, 1200 defense. When a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned, tribute this face-up card on the field, destroy that level 5 or higher monster. Okay, very strong counter to Synchro Summons, very strong counter to Yubel. At least Terror Incarnate form, not regular form. Because I've actually learned through hard experience that destroying Terror Incarnate with a card effect doesn't seem to let it evolve to the final form. So, Absolute Crusader can kind of stop Yubel, I think. It's possible that the people I've been dueling just don't do it for some reason, but anyway. You get another Tardy Orc at level 33. We get Muscle Medic at 35, a 4-star warrior, water. If a player would take damage from a battle involving this card, they gain that much life points instead. Okay. So, this thing can't hurt your opponent unless you negate its effect. Or his effect, I guess. Their effect, whatever. Interesting. But that said, I mean, 2200 is a lot of attack points, but if this thing does attack into a defense mode monster that has more, you're healing yourself. Fascinating. What a weird little card. At 38, you get, I believe, the third tardy orc. Yeah. Let's see, at 40, we get a second Absolute Crusader, and at level 45, we get Motivating Captain, a 1-star, 400 attack, 1200 defense warrior. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard. Special summon it in defense position, but it has its effects negated. Even so, that's a level 4 lower monster. Like, it's not that bad of an effect, really. It's actually a very, very good effect. You can do so much with it. And summon it in defense position, you know, pick something with high defense, solid defender. I don't think this would negate tuner monster effects, so might be a bit tricky, but you could revive a tuner monster, for example. I'm sure there are cards that would let you switch into attack position and fight back. So you could pick something with a very high attack power, something like the tardy orcs or the giant orcs. I think you could win from Tristan in the previous event that he was part of. Actually, heck, this thing works really well with Berserk Gorilla, because you special summon the gorilla in defense mode. Its effects are negated, so it doesn't immediately self-destruct, and assuming you can protect it for a turn, because it has low defense points, you then have a 2000 attack point monster that doesn't have to psychotically charge into everything that your opponent has. So, for example, if your opponent has a Blue Eyes, you're not forced to throw this thing into the Blue Eyes and hurt yourself with it. So, interesting card. Interesting card. And actually, that is something I just noticed with Tardy Orc. This card cannot attack the turn it is normal summoned. If you special summon Tardy Orc, it can attack. Fascinating. Lots of interesting cards. I was not expecting this. I was honestly expecting a bunch of stuff to deal with, like, Swamp and Lava Battle Guards, because those were, like, the only cards that he had any remote connection to in the show, from what I remember. Let's see, what else does he get? He gets Draw Pass, which is not that bad of an effect. Basically, up to 3 times per duel, you can choose to forego drawing a card during your draw phase to recover 300 life points. He gets Draw Sense Earth and Draw Sense Low Level. He gets Grit, which basically says if you had 4,000 or more life points at the start of the turn, and you would otherwise lose the duel, you stay on 1. So, kind of a good counter to some one-hit or one-turn kill decks. Assuming, of course, that you manage to keep yourself above 4K. He's got access. He can get access to all 3 life point boosts. We can get reinforcements. So anytime your life points decrease by 1800, return 1 card from your hand to the deck and draw a random warrior monster. You get Reload, which is another unique skill to Tristan. Can be used from turn 5 and onward. Add all cards in your hand to your deck and shuffle it, then draw the same number of cards. Oh, so it's like, it's literally the quick play spell Reload, but in skill form. And you can only use it once per duel from turn 5 on. So if you just have a really, really bad starting hand, you can just throw it away midway through the duel and try to redraw. Assuming you survive that long. That's another good skill. Wow. Lots of good skills on the guy that never dueled. And then this thing, Super Strength. Can be used from turn 5 and onward. Select 1 monster you control. Its attack becomes 2,000. Okay, sure. Pick a monster that can attack directly. Make it 2,000. Attack your opponent directly. Like, make its attack become... Oh, no. Its attack becomes 2,000. So I don't think you can use equip spells to boost the power further. I think that just sets and locks the attack to 2000. But even so, that's still another good skill. Like, lots of interesting new abilities here. I'm actually kind of interested to see if Tristan, like, actually becomes a new force in the metagame or not. There's a lot of fun stuff you could do with this, but anyway, I've been rambling about this for 40 minutes, but yeah, that's basically the ins and outs of the new, or re-released Monster World event, as well as the floor that unlocks Tristan, all the new reward cards, and all of the stuff that Tristan gets by leveling him up and using him. So, I don't know what's taking the game so long to load, but regardless, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a great time, and I hope you all have a great day. And I will see you all next time.